Question 1. In live recent developments, Kevin, a network engineer at a mid-sized data center, notices that broadcast traffic is flooding across multiple VLANs, causing intermittent performance issues. He suspects misconfigured VLANs on several interconnected Brocade switches. After verifying the VLAN database and BTP configurations, he sees multiple trunk links carrying the same VLANs across redundant paths. What should Kevin do to prevent layer 2 loops and ensure network stability? A. Disable spanning tree protocol on all trunk ports to allow VLAN propagation without interference. B. UEE filtering on edge ports to eliminate unnecessary SDP packets from interfering with core operations. C. Enable rapid spanning tree protocol RTP and configure appropriate route bridge priorities for VLANs. D. Manually prune VLANs from trunk ports to limit broadcast domains to specific paths. Answer. Correct answer. C. Enable rapid spanning tree protocol REP and configure appropriate route bridge priorities for VLANs. Explanation: REP E800 2.1 offers faster convergence and loop prevention than legacy SDP. By designating a route bridge per VLAN and prioritizing them accordingly, Kevin can prevent loops and optimize traffic paths. Disabling SDP altogether. Option A exposes the network. Broadcast storms. EU filtering. B is for edge ports, not trunk or links. VLAN pruning. D manages unnecessary VLANs but doesn't resolve the loop issue directly. Brocade switches fully support ROP for dynamic loop prevention and per VLAN spanning tree instances. Question 2. Upon closer examination, Maria is configuring a new Brocade IX switch via CLI for deployment in a remote branch office. She wishes to ensure secure remote access by SSH and disable insecure services. Which of the following CLI commands must be part of her initial configuration sequence? A. No telnet server enable followed by crypto key generate RSA and up SSH enable. B. Telnet server enable generate crypto RSA and IP SSH server. C. Service password encryption enable. Password crypto SSH key install. D. Up SSH enable. Crypto generate ESA. Telnet disable. Answer. Correct answer. A. No telnet server enable followed by crypto key generate RSA and up SSH enable. Explanation. To secure the Brocade CLI, the best practice is to disable telnet, no telnet server enable, and enable SSH after generating RSA keys, crypto key generate RSA up SSH enable. Option B uses incorrect command syntax. Option C includes outdated or irrelevant commands, and option D incorrectly references ESA, which is less secure and not default in Brocade's modern firmware. Brocade documentation e.g. Fast Iron configuration guide confers RSA as the preferred key type. Question 3. The relationship between IP subnetting and routing efficiency is critical in large-scale network deployments. Which of the following subnetting strategies is most efficient for minimizing route table entries in a Brocade Layer 3 environment while allowing for flexible growth? A. Use 30 subnets for all point-to-point links to conserve IP space. B. Allocate 16 blocks to each department regardless of size for future scalability. C. Employ SIDR with route summarization using variable length subnet mask VSMem. D. Use 24 subnets consistently across all sites to maintain simplicity. Answer. Correct answer. C. Employs SIDR with route summarization using variable length subnet mask VSMem. Explanation. SIDR FC1519 and VSM allow efficient IP space utilization and enable summarization, which minimizes routing entries in Brocade's RIB, while 30 subnets are efficient. They don't support growth or summarization well. Allocating 16 blocks. B. Leads to massive waste. Fixed 24D lacks flexibility and scaling efficiency. Brocade Layer 3 routers benefit from reduced RIB size when SIDR summarization is practiced. Question 4. From a practical standpoint, which transceiver type should be selected for connecting two Brocade switches 2 kilometers apart in a campus environment with available single-mode fiber? A. SFP plus ENIA transceivers with on multimode fiber. UEC-FLR transceivers using single-mode fiber. D. SFX with SC connectors and patch panels. D. SFPJ for CAT connections. Answer. Correct answer. FAR transceivers using single-mode fiber. Explanation: FAR transceivers are optimized for single-mode fiber up to 10 kilometers and are supported on Brocade switches for 10 links. In your modules, A are for short-reach multimode fiber, max 300 meters. SX modules C and RJ D do not support long distances or use the appropriate fiber type. The E800 2.3 standard supports FAR for 10B over SMF at long distances. Question 5. When faced with a growing enterprise network, Ahmed, the lead architect must design a redundant topology using Brocade X series switches across 3 distribution layers and several access layers. His primary goal is high availability and rapid failover. Which design decision is most aligned with Brocade's best practices for such scenario? Implement layer 2 switching throughout with single SDP root bridge at the core. B. Use lag with lack between access and distribution layers and implement ROP for gateway redundancy. C. Configure each access switch with unique VLANs and rely solely on static routing for traffic control. D. Utilize RIP version 1 for simplicity and compatibility across the entire network. Answer. Correct answer. B. Use lag with lack between access and distribution layers and implement ROP for gateway redundancy. Explanation. Brocade recommends lag 800 2.3 with lack for link redundancy and ROP for gateway failover in high availability designs. SDPA may cause slower convergence and single point route failure. Static routing C is not scalable. RIP D lacks subnet support. Obsolete or RFC 5798 enables fast recovery and is fully supported in Brocade Layer 3 devices. Question 6. Through the lens of automation and repeatable configuration management, Naomi is creating standardized CLI scripts to configure hundreds of Brocade switches. She wants to ensure each device has consistent VLANs, port roles, and SMP traps. However, she also needs to prevent accidentally overwriting critical boot time configurations. What Brocade CLI feature or command set is best suited to assist Naomi in ensuring this consistency, also safeguarding existing startup configurations? They use write memory before every script to ensure the current configuration is retained during reboots. B. Rely on reload to revert unintended configurations as a recovery fallback. C. Use copy running config startup config only at the end of validated changes. D. Implement startup config lock mode to prevent overwriting via automated scripts. Answer. Correct answer. C. Use copy run and config startup config only at the end of validated changes. Explanation. Brocade switches store active configurations in RAM running config, which must be safe to end RAM startup config using copy commands. This ensures persistence after reboot. Saving before validation. A. May propagate errors. Reload. B. Restores the startup config but won't help if it's already overwritten. Option D. Refers to non-existent Brocade CLI feature. Script automation should save configurations only after verification per Brocade's operations best practices. Question 7. As evidenced by recent deployment issues, Jaden is troubleshooting a link failure between 2 Brocade switches. Both ports show link down, but fiber optics and transceivers are verified to be working. He discovers the mismatch lies in port configurations. What combination is most likely to cause this failure? A. One port set to auto speed and the other set to 10 grams full duplex. B. Both ports set to auto with matching media types. C. One port administratively shut down with disable, the other enabled. D. Ports configured for different MTU sizes. Answer. Correct answer. A. One port set to auto speed and the other set to 10 grams full duplex. Explanation. Speed duplex mismatches between Brocade switch ports can prevent link establishment. Auto negotiation requires both ends to support it. If one port is fixed at 10 grams and the other on auto negotiation fails, leading to no link. MTU mismatches. D can cause packet drops but not a complete link down. Disable. C shuts one side, but the issue would be clearer. Proper Brocade configuration dictates uniform settings or both ends set to auto. Question 8. When analyzing intermittent connectivity between VLANs, Emma notices that ARP requests are being broadcast repeatedly and default gateway MAC addresses are inconsistent. She suspects a duplicate IP conflict involving a Layer 3 Brocade switch acting as the gateway. Which troubleshooting approach is most appropriate? A. Replace the core switch to eliminate the suspected hardware fault. B. Use show IP up and show MAC address to correlate inconsistent entries. C. Enable spanning tree root guard to isolate the broadcast domain. D. Check for OSP neighbor flaps to confirm layer 3 instability. Answer. Correct answer. B. Use show IP up and show MAC address to correlate inconsistent entries. Explanation. Duplicated IPsIN. A subnet can cause ARP instability. The Brocade command show IP ARP and show MAC address allow correlation between IP and MAC addresses. If the device sends conflicting responses, MAC addresses may flip. SDP C. Addresses loops, not ARP. OSP D. Issues relate to routing adjacency, not all conflicts. Hardware replacement A is premature without root cause identification. Question 9. To illustrate this point, consider that DNS resolution on several user devices intermittently fails within a Brocade switch to campus LAN. The IP server is configured correctly and reachable. What protocol is most likely malfunctioning at the switch level to cause ENS lookup failures? Layer EP snooping. B. Dynamic ARP inspection. C. IP helper address misconfiguration. D. IP rate limiting. Answer. Correct answer. C. IP helper address misconfiguration. Explanation. Brocade Layer 3 interfaces must forward OEP's DNS requests to appropriate servers using IP helper address. If this command is missing or misconfigured, broadcasts from clients won't reach the DNS server. OEP snooping and die protect against spoofing but won't affect DNS resolution directly. IP limits affect pings, not DNS. The key concept is understanding IP helper forwarding on routed interfaces. Question 10. When presented with an enterprise merger, Akira is tasked with integrating two independently managed Brocade networks. Both networks use overlapping IP address spaces 192.168.1.024 and rely on internal routing protocols. Akira must maintain uptime while enabling communication across sites. What is the best approach? A. Configure NAT on a transit VLAN to preserve routing tables. B. Use OSP with cost manipulation to prefer site local routes. C. Readdress one site to avoid overlap before merging OSP areas. D. Establish GRI tunnels with NAT to isolate and translate overlapping traffic. Answer. Correct answer. D. Establish GRI tunnels with NAT to isolate and translate overlapping traffic. Explanation. Overlapping IP ranges require encapsulation, GRI, and NAT to isolate broadcast domains and prevent routing table conflicts. Brocade supports GRI over IP interfaces. Readdressing C is ideal but disruptive. OSP B won't work with duplicate subnets. NAT on VLAN A can work temporarily, but lacks the flexibility and control of GRI plus NAT for long-term coexistence. RFC 1918 overlap resolution often employs tunneling strategies. Question 11. In the absence of dynamic routing protocols, Brocade switches must rely on static routes. Jackson wants to implement failover between two static paths to an upstream router. How can he achieve this? A. Configure multiple static routes with the same administrative distance and different metrics. B. Use floating static routes with different administrative distances. C. Use OSP passive interfaces to control failover paths. D. Use track objects to monitor links and manually update routes. Answer. Correct answer. B. Use floating static routes with different administrative distances. Explanation. Floating static routes enable backup paths by assigning higher administrative distances. When the primary route becomes unreachable, the Brocade router installs the secondary route. OSP C is dynamic and not applicable. Track commands D are not supported natively in Brocade routing logic like in Cisco. Metrics A don't apply to static routing. The method aligns with standard Brocade routing behavior as documented. Question 12. Taking into account the need for redundancy, Sophia configures dual-core Brocade switches connected to access switches via LAC. However, she still experiences single points of failure in gateway availability. Which additional feature should she implement? A. Multiple SDP instances across VLANs. B or P configuration across the core switches. C. IPA to detect gateway failures and reroute traffic. D. METP with priority-based route assignment. Answer. Correct answer. ORP configuration across the core switches. Explanation. ORP virtual router redundancy protocol allows multiple layer 3 devices to share a virtual IP for default gateway services, ensuring redundancy. Lag ensures link level redundancy. IP addresses gateway failure. SEP and METP8D handle loop avoidance, not gateway redundancy. IPLA C is not natively supported in Brocade to the extent of Cisco's implementation. RFC 3768 Gov ORP Brocade adheres to this for high availability. Question 13. The underlying principle of 10 grams Ethernet requires careful selection of cabling to support different distances and environments. What cabling is best suited for connecting two Brocade 10 base and your interfaces within the same rack? A. Copper unshielded twisted pair. B. On multimode fiber with LC connectors. C. Single mode fiber with SC connectors. D. Copper direct attach cable DAC with SFP+. Answer. Correct answer. D. Copper direct attach cable DAC with SFP+. Explanation. For short-range, high-speed connections like same rack links, Brocade recommends DAC direct attach copper cables with SFP+ interfaces. On fiber, B is valid but unnecessary cost for short distances. Copper A is used for 10 base D, not 10 base N or SE connectors. C are outdated and typically used in long-range applications. The E800 2.3 standard includes DAC as a valid short distance 10 medium. Question 14. The impact of unsecured access ports in a Brocade environment can be devastating. What is the most effective first line of defense against unauthorized devices on access switch ports? A. Implement port-based ACLs to filter MAC addresses, but UAP snooping to assign IPs only to approved MACs. C. Enable port security with MAC address limiting. D. Disable spanning tree to prevent rogue switch interference. Answer. Correct answer. C. Enable port security with MAC address limiting. Explanation. Port security restricts the number of MAC addresses on an interface and can shut the port upon violation. This is a foundational Brocade security feature. ACLs A are more granular but harder to manage per AEP snooping. B protects against rogue servers but doesn't block unauthorized device access by MAC. Disabling SDP. D is dangerous and could enable loops. Brocade CLI allows port security configuration with static or sticky MAC learning. Question 15. In comparison with legacy devices, modern Brocade switches support zero-touch provisioning and management interface setup. Leo needs to pre-configure IP addressing and hostname via a management port without affecting production VLANs. Which interface should he configure? Interface for where IP. B. Management 1 interface with a static IP. C. VLAN 1 interface with trunk mode. D. Serial console interface via USB. Answer. Correct answer. B. Management 1 interface with a static IP. Explanation. Brocade switches provide out of band management via a Management 1 interface. Assigning a static IP here ensures configuration does not interfere with data VLANs. VLAN 1 C is in band. V interfaces are tied to VLANs and used for routing, not management. The console port D is for local access, not IP communication. This aligns with separation of control and data planes. Question 16. The most significant aspect of understanding network behavior in Brocade environments is recognizing how data moves through protocol layers. During troubleshooting, Elijah notices that an application fails to connect while pings to the server succeed. He confirms that physical and data link layers are functioning. What is the most likely cause of the failure based on the OC model? A. The transport layer is dropping TCP SYN packets due to port filtering. B. The session layer is incorrectly encapsulating the Ethernet frame. C. The data link layer is corrupting up frames causing intermittent loss. D. The network layer has stopped forwarding echo replies. Answer. Correct answer A. The transport layer is dropping TCP SYN packets due to port filtering. Explanation. The OC model reveals that successful pings at layer 3 do not guarantee application-level connectivity. If TCP SYNs are filtered or blocked at layer 4, the application cannot establish a connection. Despite IP success, the session layer B is unrelated to Ethernet framing. ARPANET pairs C-D would impact all connectivity, not just the application layer. Brocade ACLs or firewall features filtering ECP ports is a probable cause. Question 17. Throughout the course of a campus-wide upgrade, Ladasha must replace legacy 100 Mbps links with 2 Gbps links using existing multimode fiber arm. She chooses 10 bay senior optics. What is the maximum distance she can expect to achieve without signal degradation? A. 33 meters. B. 82 meters. C. 300 meters. D. 550 meters. Answer. Correct answer. C. 300 meters. Explanation. 10 bay senior over ARM multimode fiber can reach out to 300 meters per E800 2.3 standards. ARM can stretch this to 400 meters. ARM is limited to 82 meters. B. SE or other connectors do not affect distance limits significantly. This information is crucial for Brocade switch installations involving SFP+ transceivers and high-speed uplinks. Question 18. Examining the consequences of unprotected access to Brocade switch configuration files, Logan wants to ensure that unauthorized personnel cannot retrieve stored passwords or disrupt the boot sequence. What Brocade feature should be configured to protect the system image and configuration files? A. Enable password recovery feature via bootloader. B. Configure exec timeout on VTI lines. C. Use the encrypt password command for all credentials. D. Secure the startup config using a configuration encryption key. Answer. Correct answer. D. Secure the startup config using a configuration encryption key. Explanation. Brocade supports encrypted storage of configurations, including passwords, to prevent tampering or unauthorized access. Using configuration encryption keys adds security. While encrypt password C protects credentials, it does not secure the entire configuration file. Password recovery A and VTI timeouts B are session-based protections and not sufficient against offline threats. Securing the startup config is best practice under NIST 80053. Question 19. Contrary to popular belief, static routes are not always inefficient. Chloe runs a secure data center where routing predictability is more important than dynamic path recalculation. She wants the primary uplink to be used unless it fails, at which point a backup link should become active. What is the minimal requirement to accomplish this with static routing? A. BGP for failover because static routes do not support path priorities. B. Configure two routes with different metrics and equal administrative distances. C. Configure static routes with different administrative distances. D. Use route maps to monitor interfaces and trigger redistribution. Answer. Correct answer. C. Configure static routes with different administrative distances. Explanation. In Brocade devices, static routes can be prioritized by assigning different administrative distances. Default is 1. A route with lower distance is preferred. If it becomes unreachable, the backup takes over. BGPA's unnecessary overhead. Metrics B are not evaluated for static routes. Route maps D are for redistribution, but protocols are not used in static-only designs. Question 20. The development of campus LANs using Brocade products often centers on X series switches. If a network requires 48 1-gram ports, PO plus support and 4 10-grams uplinks, which model is most appropriate? A. Brocade X645024. B. Brocade X661048. C. Brocade SEX 624. D. Brocade MLR 16. Answer. Correct answer. B. Brocade X661048. Explanation. The X661048 provides 48 PO plus ports and up to 8 uplinks supporting denser access with uplink flexibility. The 64524A lacks port density. FCX624C is ill with fewer uplinks. AIR-D is a high-end core router not designed for access layer use. Brocade datasheets and hardware comparison guides confirm the 66148 for this role. Question 21. By comparing different monitoring options, Ramona wants real-time visibility into port performance and error rates. She must monitor utilization on each interface of a Brocade switch and correlate with external systems like SolarWinds. Which protocol is best suited? A. Aramon probes on all interfaces. E. SFPV with interface MIB polling. C. SFlow is one sampling and counter exports. D. NetFlow export via fixed templates. Answer. Correct answer. C. SFlow is one sampling and counter exports. Explanation. Brocade switches support SFlow, which samples traffic and exports stats including interface counters, is low overhead and integrates with Soloids or G. Another's SFE. B is secure but polling based and less efficient. NetFlow. D is typically used in routers, not Brocade switches. Armonve is outdated and limited in scope. Question 22. The core principles of VLAN segmentation include security, performance, and management. Samantha wants to isolate student, staff, and administrative traffic on a single switch. She configures 3 VLANs and assigns ports. What else is necessary to prevent inter-VLAN communication without a router? A. Disable spanning tree across VLANs. B. Use private VLANs and assign secondary ports. C. Implement ACLs on V interfaces. D. Use VTP to limit VLAN propagation. Answer. Correct answer. C. Implement ACLs on V interfaces. Explanation. In Brocade switches, V interfaces, routed interfaces for VLANs handle inter-VLAN routing. To block communication between VLANs, ACLs applied to these VES are effective. Private VLANs. B. Not universally supported. Disabling SDPA is risky and unrelayed VTP. D. Handles VLAN propagation, not routing control. Question 23. With the advent of centralized configuration control, Ray wants to ensure that all changes made to a Brocade switch are logged and traceable to individual users. What should he implement to meet this objective? A. Local user accounts with CLI logging. B. Radius authentication with privilege levels and accounting. C. SSH access with timeouts enabled. D. Enable password encryption for all stored credentials. Answer. Correct answer. B. Radius authentication with privilege levels and accounting. Explanation. Radius allows Brocade devices to authenticate users and log all activity, including CLI commands, when combined with accounting. SSH, C, and password encryption. D. Protect access but don't track user actions. Local user logging. A. Is limited without centralized accountability. RFC 2865 and Brocade documentation support Radius for secure, auditable access. Question 24. In a modern context of IP exhaustion, Tarek wants to subnet the 192.168.100.24 network to support 6 departments, each requiring up to 25 devices. What subnet mask should he use? A. 27B, 28C, 29D, 26. Answer. Correct answer. A. 27. Explanation. A 27 subnet gives 32 IP addresses, 30 usable enough for each department. He can create 8 such subnets from a 24. 28B only offers 14 usable addresses. 29C gives 6. 26D gives 62, which waste tips. Proper subnetting is essential for conserving IP space per FC 950 and Brocade routing guidelines. Question 25. In response to recurring outages in a 3-tier Brocade topology, Olivia notices that during failover testing, the switches don't converge fast enough, causing 1015 seconds of service interruption. She's STP-enabled on access ports. What should she implement to reduce convergence time and improve user experience? A. Enable METP with EEU guard on uplinks. B. Usage port configuration spanning tree port fast on access ports. C. Disable SDP entirely on access switches. D. Increase SDP hello timers to reduce CPU usage. Answer. Correct answer. B. Usage port configuration spanning tree port fast on access ports. Explanation. Brocade's version of port fast allows access ports to transition to forwarding immediately, avoiding the 30-second STP delay. Disabling STP C is dangerous. EEU guard A protects against rogue switches but does not improve convergence. Increasing hello timers. D makes convergence slower. Using spanning tree edge port. Brocade syntax for Cisco's port fast. Question 26. A network engineer is troubleshooting a Brocade router that intermittently drops packets when multiple high-priority traffic classes are processed simultaneously. Cost settings appear configured correctly. What is the most likely reason for this behavior? A. The router's NTP synchronization has failed, affecting scheduling accuracy. B. Buffer memory allocation is insufficient for traffic bursts. C. The spanning tree root bridge is misconfigured. D. IP MTU size exceeds standard IP limits. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Insufficient buffer memory can lead to packet drops during traffic bursts even if cost classes are correctly defined. This is a Layer 2-3 performance issue. Question 27. During a network audit, a junior engineer notices a Brocade device has several VLANs configured but is not trunking properly with neighboring switches. What configuration should be verified first? A. Ensure spanning tree port fast is enabled. B. Confirm the interfaces are set to access mode. C. Check if 802.1 encapsulation is enabled on trunk ports. D. Verify MAC address stable aging timers. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. VLAN trunking between switches relies on 802.1 encapsulation. If not enabled or mismatched, trunking fails, preventing VLAN propagation. Question 20. Which feature in Brocade switches allows for automatic recovery from a unidirectional link failure in a fiber channel environment? A. Uddled unidirectional link detection. B. LAP link layer discovery protocol. C. Fabric watch DOP virtual router redundancy protocol. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Uddled detects unidirectional links and disables the interface to prevent loops or black holes in Layer 2-3 topologies. Question 29. In a Brocade Layer 3 switch, equal cost multipath is used to forward packets across multiple interfaces. What hashing mechanism is most commonly used to ensure session consistency? A. Per packet round-robin forwarding. B. Source IP-based forwarding. C. Hashing on Layer 4 TCP ports. D. Randomized destination-based forwarding. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Layer 4 hashing using TCP port pairs ensures flows remain consistent over a specific path, critical for maintaining session integrity with Question 30. You are configuring a Brocade router and wish to prevent IPv4 messages from affecting network routing. Which of the following is the best mitigation strategy? A. Disable IP router advertisements globally. B. Use IP for guard on edge ports. C. Set MTU to minimum IP specification. D. Restrict Layer 2 multicast forwarding. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. IP guard filters rogue router advertisements on access ports to prevent unauthorized devices from injecting incorrect routing information.